All right, let's talk about this one. And I'm going to be honest. I have one reason and one reason only for talking about this. And that's because there is a really good potential sound drop in this video. And so I want to like make it part of I want to just cover it because I think it's really funny. But here is Jordan Peterson. Now, Jordan Peterson is, according to reports, still alive. Now, there was a long time, a lot of people were wondering if Jordan Peterson was actually alive, or if this was like, you know, his daughter, but like with his skin on. That was like a conspiracy running around. Personally, I was ambivalent on it. I think it was totally possible that, you know, Jordan Peterson's child was actually, like, Jordan Peterson would be dead, and then, like, they ripped the skin off, and then, you know, like in Hellraiser, right? So that's what I thought this was going to be, but it seems to be the case, and again, I'm open to being wrong on this, that Jordan Peterson is, in fact, alive, and he gave this really bizarre, he was on this BBC panel, talking about how racism isn't actually real. Well, it's real, but you can't define it, and it doesn't exist in real life. But it is real, right? Like, you know, racism is a word in the dictionary. Everything else, though, you know, I'm not so sure about that. But let's get into this.
Well, that's a fair point. I'll come to John.
I think the same point I made earlier applies, is that things need to be particularized rather than generalized, as a general rule, let's say. And so this cricket player was facing racism by his own account. The question is, who, when, what, exactly? Because otherwise it degenerates into something like
okay, so I don't know the story necessarily of what they're talking about, but they're talking about someone who's like on a sports team, who basically said that they felt like their teammates were acting racist against them. And it seems to be the case that they were being very overtly racist. Now, again, I haven't looked into this too much. But again, Jordan Peterson is basically saying, you need to, like, you know, give us a complete, we need to, like, follow the line here. Where did they, like, we need to go back in these people's lives to hear when they first discovered, you know, racist ideology, and then make you know, we need to use, like, a quantum computer to, like, you know, read their minds or whatever to see if they were actually racist. Otherwise, it's not actually racist. And to say that anything that could be racist is actually racist because you're making it about race. What?
Discussion of structural racism. And when it becomes abstracted up to that level, first of all, that pits group against group, which I think is entirely counterproductive. And it actually doesn't address the issue, you know.
So again, if someone is racist, that's not pitting a group against another group. No. Not at all. But if you say, yo, that's racist, all of a sudden, group against group, why are you doing that? Like, you ever notice that with these right-wing goofballs, right, it's always racist to point out racism, but the initial racism that they're pointing out is never there's always an excuse for that one. There's always oh, they're just, you know, it's whatever, they were, you know, whatever. But when you point it out, how dare you? Now that's the real racism, but let's keep going.
Racism is a global and vague term.
Sorry, but
why
would you possibly do that? What did that mean?
Because I said it was a global and vague term.
The inverted commas as if it's not a real thing.
No, that isn't what it meant.
Well, what did it mean then? Explain.
It meant that it's indicative of low resolution thinking.
I can't, folks. I can't. It's indicative of low-resolution thinking. I'm sorry, that's so funny. This is going in the intro, outro. Please, just bear with me.
As if it's not a real thing.
No, that isn't what it meant.
Well, what did it mean then? Explain.
It meant that it's indicative of low-resolution thinking. And what I mean by that is, we use all these terms frequently in discussions like this that are
He was
containers of undifferentiated content.
He was repeatedly called abusive terms directly linked to his ethnicity.
By who?
By not just one, but repeated members of the Yorkshire Cricket Club. He's had people contact him. If it walks like a duck, Jordan, talks like a duck, it's a duck. It's racism.
I'm not denying his experience.
Right.
What I asked was exactly who and when, and you just answered that question. So I would say those specific people should be held specifically to account for their actions. before any movement up the abstraction hierarchy to a discussion of something like structural racism, which I don't think is helpful.
Well, he has talked about institutional racism in cricket. He says that's what he's experienced as a term, institutional racism.
Right, I know. And like I said, I believe that abstracting up the problem to that level of analysis...
But that's the thing, is like, this whole analysis, right, is basically like, you can't make any claims about society as a whole, because when you do, it's too abstract and you'll never be able to like solve any problems. That being said, here's why that's not actually racist, because it's too abstract to be racist. There's not enough like, you know, consistencies and congruencies to be actually racist. Oh, you know, the club was in the institute. Oh, well, that's fine, but you can't abstract it that much, because once you abstract it that much, it's too abstract. It's a feedback effect, right? Where it's like, oh, if you point out how the whole system is racist, it's not actually racist because it's too abstract. But in order to actually, but that's the thing, in order to make something racist to the point where Jordan Peterson will say, oh, that's racist, you need to point out how every system here, ends up in racism, but you can't do that, right? So it's a win-win for him. It's a lose-lose for everyone else. He will never admit that anything is racist, and it's bizarre. It's strange. It's strange. I don't understand it. The only thing I do understand is that it's low-resolution thinking.
And vague terms. Because I said it was a global and vague term.
The inverted commas as if it's not a real thing.
No, that isn't what it meant.
Well, what did it mean then? Explain.
It meant that it's indicative of low-resolution thinking.
I love that he says indicative as well there. That's so good. Low-resolution thinking. I'm sorry, that one for me, I heard that and I was like, that's it. Got to talk about it. So, that's really funny. Low-resolution thinking, folks.